In yesterday's video, I talked a little bit about Kevin Feige's recent interviews on the Fantastic Four First Steps press tour, but there was so much more I couldn't cover in one single video. So in today's video, we are going to elaborate on Jake Schrier's upcoming X-Men movie, Kevin Feige opening up about Blade being stuck in development hell, and the anticipated reboot and recasting of key MCU characters following Secret Wars. All that and more in today's video. Today, the review embargo drops for the Fantastic Four First Steps, and I say this whenever reviews are about to become public for a specific movie or TV show. It's great to have reviewers telling you what they like or dislike something, but a Rotten Tomatoes score does not validate whether a movie you like or dislike is actually good or bad. You are entitled to your own opinion, but those review scores are an aggregate of people who liked the movie versus disliked. And this is a great opportunity for me to remind you to leave a like on this video, it really helps out the channel. So when people are inevitably comparing the Superman review score to the Fantastic Four review score, just remember the only thing that matters is your enjoyment of the movie. And I am going to interject with an update because the embargo did drop for Fantastic Four First Steps, and at the time of recording it has an 88% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Again, this is not a scale from 1 to 100 on how quality the movie is, that is simply a percentage of the 86 reviews that were posted on the site of critics that liked it versus disliked it. There are going to be people who like Superman more than Fantastic Four and vice versa. Movies are supposed to be fun. Yes, you can debate and discuss them, but there's never an objective correct answer. Now that I've got that out of the way, let's talk more about Kevin Feige. Alright, so I really buried the lead on it yesterday, but I felt like I needed to dedicate more time to this specific topic. Kevin Feige has confirmed that the Thunderbolts director Jake Schrier will be returning to the MCU to helm the first X-Men movie. And this first X-Men movie is slated to be a full reboot of the characters that are going to be featured in Doomsday and possibly Secret Wars. And Kevin Feige talked a little bit about this in the Deadline article I cited yesterday. Regarding the casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, Kevin Feige was asked if that meant there was the possibility of recasting the core Avengers members who have died or retired, meaning Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, and Natasha Romanoff. He stated that in the long term, Marvel superheroes will get new faces, and X-Men is going to be the first place that happens, stating that the Secret Wars event will reset singular timelines and reboot the MCU. Now, what exactly does that mean? I think that with the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, Hugh Jackman probably wants to stick around as Wolverine for a little bit, and Ryan Reynolds is probably unlikely to give up the Deadpool mantle anytime soon. But I think there is an interesting idea for Daphne Keane X-23 to continue over into this new MCU. She was at the premiere of Fantastic Four First Steps yesterday, and while attending a premiere isn't a definitive answer on whether or not that character will appear in a specific movie, or the next entry of the series anyway, you have to remember that last year there was a whole controversy over Daphne Keane attending the premiere of Deadpool and Wolverine, a movie that she starred in, leading to Kevin Feige revealing that her character would be featured in the movie before it released. So whether or not she makes an appearance in the Fantastic Four First Steps, I think this is kind of Marvel's way to hint that this character still has more to do in the MCU. She's currently not confirmed to be returning in Doomsday, but I'd really like to see this actress continue on the legacy of that character, whether it's in Doomsday, Secret Wars, or this upcoming X-Men movie. But let's revisit what exactly Kevin Feige says here. Secret Wars will reset singular timelines. A few months ago, I talked about my idea that Secret Wars will really lead to a Marvel Cinematic Multiverse, with Fantastic Four First Steps being one of the first movies to introduce a new group of characters in a post-MCU world, not on the sacred timeline. The reintroduction of the original X-Men cast, we also have the Sony Spider-Man universe, which is in limbo right now. But I also think that Marvel has an interesting idea to expand their storytelling opportunities by giving us different universes. DC has played around with this with their Elseworld storylines. That's why we're getting the Batman set in a different universe. We had the Joker going on at the same time as the DC universe was really getting kicked off. And I think it would encourage more interesting filmmakers to try and make something using the Marvel IP. I've previously discussed how the original Fantastic Four movie we would have seen directed by John Watts was probably something completely different, and that if people really like the setting of Fantastic Four First Steps, they're going to want to revisit it again in the future. What we need to do right now is the opposite of how Phase 4 began. Phase 4 should have been a fresh start post-Endgame, focusing on smaller stories about characters who were pre-established and some new characters, while focusing on a climax that resolves this phase, and introducing a potential threat for later on in the saga. What Phase 4 did really wrong in my opinion was jumping immediately to what the big threat this saga was supposed to be. We need to get back to how the MCU began, telling great self-contained stories that each contribute to a larger narrative in some way. In my opinion, the only Phase 4 movie to really handle that correctly was Shang-Chi. It's set in the MCU, focused on its own story, and introduces this character to the larger world. Compare that to Eternals. While it does have its own singular story, it seemed like that movie was so focused on expanding multiple different storylines for different characters between each of the Eternals, the Celestials, Eros, the Black Knight, and Blade. And speaking of Blade, as I alluded to earlier in the video, Kevin Feige talked a little bit about the issues they've been having with that specific movie. Blade was first announced back at Comic-Con 2019 with an unknown release date and the casting of Mahershala Ali as Blade. And since then, the production of the movie has been a mess. Different versions of the screenplay have been written and rejected, directors were attached and then left, the release date was set and pushed back. It's a nightmare. And what Kevin Feige had to say was this: "We didn't want to put a leather outfit on him and have him start killing vampires. You can start and have a good script and make it a great script through production, but we didn't feel confident we could do that on Blade. We didn't want to do that to Mahershala and didn't want to do that to us." I've seen a lot of responses to the first sentence and say, what are you talking about? That's literally what Blade is. But I like the restraint Kevin Feige has in not pushing forward on a script he finds mediocre or just okay. They want the right movie for Blade. If you want a bad to good Blade movie, there are 3 from the late 90s and early 2000s that you can already watch. They're trying to make the Blade debut in the MCU something a little bit more special though. He's also said that there were 4 earlier versions of Blade that they were working on, but they've eventually set it in the modern day. And I'm also willing to bet that this version of the movie is going to be set after Secret Wars, meaning it will be in this rebooted MCU that Feige alluded to. That's gonna do it for today's video though. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think about all of this. I promise I'll start returning to mailbag questions very soon, but as a reminder, if you want to ask a question that I'll answer in a later video, you can drop it in the comments below with the hashtag mailbag. Again, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe for more content, and I will see you in the next video.